Trying again. Bound to mess it up at least twice. This is The Long War. I'm Rob Baer. And joining me once again are my co-panelists, partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Wyatt Turk, and Matt Baugh, the... Oh, shit. What do we say? Everybody take a drink. What do we say? Overlord of 40K?
No, I would say
lead
guest
organizer.
panelist and lead organizer of 40K at AdeptiCon.
Just let them introduce themselves. How about that? He did a better job than you.
He did, guys.
We're back. It's the new year. Happy New Year's, everybody. Well, I know it was probably everyone probably had a different experience. We got people in San Diego, people in North Carolina, people in I don't know where Matt is. Midwest somewhere?
Phoenix, actually.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Not even close. And I was in Miami.
That's like kind of, no, I guess we're missing one of the four corners. We don't have a Pacific Northwest.
I was at a Cuban New Year's.
That sounds fun.
Bro, that shit slapped. It's been a long time since I've been in something like this. Top tier.
What were you drinking?
I drank a lot of scotch, actually. It's weird. Oh. There's a lot of drink opportunities. And the drinks were flowing with the PA system. I forgot that you have to dance at Cuban New Year's. And I'm like, man, it's been a minute, dog. I had to bang out some salsa steps, some merengue steps.
Oh, wow.
Why are you muted? He might be muted.
He says it's muted.
Oh, I am. There was no symbol on the screen.
But you're so expressive with your eyes and stuff that it was.
Can you tell that one of my eyes hurts really bad?
Yeah, that's when I noticed you were muted. I was like, because you didn't see. I didn't even notice you're muted because you're so expressive that your expression is as good as verbal acknowledgement or anything.
It's all right. I was suffering in silence, anyways.
Talking with his face. Yikes.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Right, so we went off the air before the 20th.
Yeah.
And a lot of shit happened, guys.
What happened?
I mean,
Fulgrim
happened. I know that. I'm sitting on a couch, and then all I saw was 1,000 pictures of Fulgrim with the blue steel face.
That didn't take long.
That took like 14 seconds.
Yeah, that didn't take long. People were like, I like the old one better.
I was like, I want to see a picture of this goddamn model. Guys, stop doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it's Warhammer. People are going to be highly opinionated about stuff that doesn't really matter.
About the appearance of...
It's like 4 faces.
Yeah.
He's fine. I don't even think people are really mad about it. I just think it's just a joke people are doing. I haven't actually met somebody who's actually mad about it.
I think the real interesting part is going to be comparing the two models together.
I did that on my show the other day, and I'm like, they're incomparable, man. The Forge-Roll one comes with this cool thing where the wings just come broken. Like tight.
Yeah, so Forge-Rolled, you're paying like $300 for a model that you're not actually going to get. You're going to get this amalgamation of dog shit in a Ziploc bag.
And broken.
Like, this is that model. And you're like, no, it's not. And they're like, yeah, it is.
Dude, the wings shoot straight up and out. Dude, they come broken. Come on. And the actual 40K one is the wings are tight against his body and right out to the sides. You can actually play and move around that model and put it in a bag. They can't even compare the two. And the Forge-Roll one is a dragon. And what have I always said about dragons? If you want to pet a dragon, you better be down to pay for 1 billion seconds. He is just all dragon scales. The whole model. And the new one is just a snake body. Welcome to airbrushing, guys. You know what I'm saying? A smooth, silky snake body. All airbrushed. So much better.
That's how I'm going to introduce you.
I like how the plastic one has aquatic elements to it. He's like an eel almost. Which gives you that sort of a snake has texture, it has patterns and stuff, but he's just smooth and slimy, and you're like, I don't want to touch that. It looks gross.
Mm-hmm. They're basically the same guy too, right? They're almost the same model. And the old one, he's like more handsome and beautiful because he's less demonic, and the new one, he's more angry looking, like, and more playable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's actually mad about it because I don't think anyone actually owns the 30K one. You know what I mean?
I've had 2 of them. The wings did not come broken. Sorry.
Well, I did get that booty warrior. Remember what's his name? Kabuti. The bloodthirster, the bloodthirster one.
Kabanda?
Yeah, that one. And
his whip.
His wings did not come broken. His whip didn't come broken. It all came fine, but it was a beast to build. Gaps were. I have like
gaps
hours of video content of me having to gap fill that guy with like sculpting.
Yeah.
And the wings didn't break, to be fair, but he's basically unstorable. Like, you can't take him anywhere. He displaces too much volume, just straight up. Like, the wing design is just preposterous. If you look at 40K wings, they're pretty straightforward on these types of models. Like, they don't do anything nonsensical with them. They keep them real tight, just straight out to the sides or folded them around them. So you can actually do things with them. Not shooting back in the air, flapping around.
All right, well, let's get into the show. So I think.
Oh, let's do our note. Okay, so we
get over to Wyatt.
We were talking about in the after hours, right? We got a new exciting format. If you listen to this drive, this is the podcast for the first time for you. So we're actually moving into a webinar format. Nothing else changes. We're still doing the show exactly the same way we do. We were going to bring a host on. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to send out links to people to register for the webinar so we can populate the webinar with a Q&A while we're doing this thing, which we can do.
You can jump in live too.
Right. That's what I'm saying is we do this live, and we've always had a chat, and we always read the chat and we respond to the chat. But the problem with that
Except for when we're recording for the podcast.
Yeah. We lose all the chats that we didn't answer, or there were some good questions in there. We kind of have to cherry pick. But now, if you just hit the registration form and you go in there and ask a question, it's going to get exported to our final document, and it'll go out in an article on Mondays. So, like, your questions will get addressed,
or by the next podcast, Yeah, let's say that.
That's a better timeline. So, the format is designed so that no question gets left behind. The resource guide is a stronger guide, because you can reference something you heard in the podcast by just going to the article and finding it right there. Whatever product Wyatt was talking about, whatever his new saw is that he was talking about, there it is. It's the links, everything. You know what I'm saying? If someone asks him about it. So it leads to a stronger format, stronger resource in helping people prepare for this hobby, which is also kind of the subject of tonight. I think our title for the show is Battlefield Ready, a guide to tournament preparation. We do have show notes that we've been copying and pasting to the chat so people can start asking questions about that.
Or whatever.
Yeah, well, you can ask about my mustache if you want. But tournament-specific preparations, we got logistics and planning, hobby and presentation, rules and knowledge, mindset and sportsmanship. These are some of the major topics we're going to cover tonight. But before we do any of that, we're keeping this award-winning segment. We've won Peabody's, guys. So let's kick it over to Wyatt and test nothing about the lamp.
Would you rather have a tool for every job that you need, but those tools are always really low quality and shitty, or have a limited set of really high quality tools, but constantly be frustrated that you don't have the right tool when you need it and have to like jerry rig stuff?
Can you get new low quality tools? Like, what if you break them?
Yeah, I mean, like, they're in this genie scenario, they're magically replaced.
Okay.
So it's the right tool for the job is always available to me, but it's crap.
Yeah.
Or I always have to jerry rig a tool.
Yeah, but like you have a limited set of tools, so not always, but those like the tools you have are nice, but you're gonna run into scenarios a lot where you'd have to like, oh shit, I don't have a tool.
A very limited set of high quality tools, or any tool that my heart can think up, but from like Temu.
yeah.
Temu Genie.
Yeah, so I was gonna say I think that first scenario is the business model for Harbor Freight.
Oh yeah,
If
Yeah.
that too.
anybody,
Yeah,
you know,
I have not had good luck. I mean, you can always find what you want, and it kind of works. But getting that second use out of it's always a little sus.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think.
So, what counts as a tool? Like, does a paintbrush count as a tool?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
This is upsetting.
You want the good paintbrushes,
Damn.
but you might have to be doing detail work with.
I might have to be making like the best number 6 in the world do some real hardcore shit.
Oof.
Whoo. Nah, but I still think that's the best answer though, right? Like, is toilet paper a tool?
No. Come on.
God. Toothbrush a tool?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would say a toothbrush is a tool.
You be having some cavities, bro.
Just trying to. Because I got tools in my truck. Like I know, like I'm like other things I use as tools. I use them as a tool to keep my teeth clean because there are other ways I can keep my teeth clean. I can use like a cloth and like baking soda and salt, like a peasant. So like the toothbrush is a superior tool for, you know, tooth maintenance. So, I think I have to go with the high quality tools, but a limited subset. Because at the very least, even if I'm missing all my teeth, at least like all my other shit's looking tight, or vice versa. Wait, am I not allowed to clean my teeth if I don't have a toothbrush?
No,
Huh.
I mean you'd have a tool for it.
A very
Like, you have a tool for every job.
a tool for every job, but it might
Right?
not.
In your scenario, that tool might be like a rag and a bottle of hydrogen peroxide.
But super tight.
I
Would
mean,
it,
if it works.
would it be
No,
like?
but I mean, so that would be like a tool for every job, but they're bad. Then if you chose the limited number, you'd have like a nice toothbrush.
But that would take up one of my limited tool slots.
Yeah.
Whew. That's the problem. I'd start picking. How limited is my tool slot? Like 5 tools?
No, I mean it's like, you only need the one tool. Well, I guess maybe not. So it's like if we're talking about a tool to clean your teeth, you'd have like the highest quality toothbrush, but you wouldn't have like floss or a dental pick or teeth whitening strips or like any of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think I'm switching my answer. I'm going to go to the Timu answer.
Oh dang.
Fuck it.
That was gonna be my answer.
Fuck it.
Well,
I don't. I don't think I have this. I don't think I can survive in that world. Oh, like, yeah, I can't use a tooth rag. I'm just gonna not brush my teeth. This is what's gonna happen.
I feel like.
so
Go ahead.
I live my whole life by the Timu answer, by the whole strategy. So if you go to my garage, it is just piles of Harbor Freight and cheap Amazon tools because like you don't, aside from like a claw hammer or like a circular saw, like 90% of tools you use like twice in your lifetime,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So yeah, so I feel like the cheap ones, even if they're gonna break after 3 uses,
You
that's
got your.
probably more than I would ever
Uh,
use them. Yeah,
yeah. Because like
but
I can think of quite a few things I bought, just like you were saying, that I have not used again.
That means like I have to use like Timu condoms and stuff, right?
I
well, I
mean,
also have 5 children, so I told you I
I
live my
mean,
life by the
there you go.
strategy. So
I was like, I'm just thinking about like all the things. I'm like, oh my god.
talk about being invested in your answer. He wasn't joking. Um, yeah, I think I'd probably do the same thing. It just seems like even if they break, you're like while you're using it, that genie magically gives you another one, and you might have to like struggle through
It's
it.
just
But
concerning because there's certain tools in my life that I rely on to produce quality work on a regular
yeah,
basis.
that's the problem.
But then I often remember I have this whole other part of my life where I still need to do other things that are not that. And so
Mm-hmm.
like floss my teeth.
Sin.
So, yeah, dollar store, Temu. I mean, the dollar store would be better than Temu at this point, but I've been robbed by Temu before. My lady bought me a vacuum cleaner like for my Beats Lab, and it showed up and it like it literally like is so small it fits in your pocket. And she's like, "Look,
oh yes, I know exactly what you're talking about because my mom bought me one, and I'm like, this straight up does not function.
yeah,
Does not work.
it showed up. She's like, "What's this?" I was like, "It's that vacuum cleaner you bought." She's like, "What?" And she's like, "You're dumb. You didn't look at the article. Like, there's no measurements on it, and the picture they show is clearly a full dust devil.
Yeah,
It's like obviously
but it's only like that big, and it has like a little cord hanging out.
Yeah.
You plug it in with a USB.
Yeah. And she's like, "I'm sorry. I thought like this was actually like a working device, like not a
prop."
prop, like a USB. It has a little fucking filter in it and everything." I'm like, "Bro, this thing." Temu. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Wyatt. Hope everyone enjoyed their new year and their holidays. But now we got some 40K to talk about. Rob, you want to lead with the AdeptiCon news talk?
Yeah, let's jump into that. So Matt's here, and judging from a lot of the notes he sent over, there's a lot of things kind of changing. So what's like the broad like event kind of overview? What can we expect from Adepticon? If nobody's been to Adepticon or haven't been to Adepticon in a few years, what's the lineup looking like for this year? Like as far as like tabletop miniature 40K stuff, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Or
So for those of you who are just coming in, my name's Matt Baugh. I'm one of several tournament organizers for 40K events at Adepticon, but I'm kind of like the lead guy responsible for a lot of the back end organization. So as far as our offerings of 40K events this year, it is both similar and very different to prior years. So the similarities are the convention is essentially Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and our lineups most of the days are what they've always been. So on Thursday we'll have what we call our championships, which is kind of like a straight Pariah Nexus Grand Tournament, just kind of everything normal that you would expect out of a large 40K singles. If you sign up for that event, you play on Thursday 4 games, and then historically we've cut to a top 16. So 16 players would progress on to a finals single elimination bracket that plays on Friday to get down to a single winner, which is a segue into a bunch of other topics. So on Friday, then we have a couple of other event offerings for people who wouldn't make the top 16. So one of them is the amazing Long Wars doubles tournament, which is put on by yours truly, the other panelists here on the podcast. We also on Friday have the 40K friendly event, which is really just goofy and fun. So the TO for that, Jeff, every year picks some sort of like usually a movie,
yeah.
and
A theme
from the
people,
80s.
a theme. Jeff's about I think in the ballpark he's kind of like our age, so it's a lot of like 80s, early 90s nostalgia themes. So last year, it was Top Gun, and everybody, like all the missions had some sort of quirky Top Gun theme to them, and people had you had to have a model in your army that had some sort of Top Gun theme. So it's a lot of drinking and silliness, and you're not competing for yourself in the friendly. Everybody's split up into teams, so like red, blue, green, etc. And the teams compete, and you win as a team, and the winning is based off of a combination of the game results in other just
and
silly
their
stuff,
mini
so.
games that they play.
Yeah. So like that event is just
Yeah,
super.
they're historic like figure at this point.
Yeah.
They've been a part of the Adepticon game for a long. I mean, we've been sharing that room with them since the first day.
Mm-hmm. And they were there. They were definitely there before us.
So we've been there for like almost 10 years at this point. Like I think, like it's
Yep.
like, bro, it's yeah. So like Friday, you're still offering this kind of the same opportunities for people to play who didn't make the cut, but you said a top
That's cool.
16 cut. Is it still a top 16 cut?
Yeah, so this is one of the big changes that's happening this year. So
Mhm.
AdeptiCon is moving from Schaumburg, Illinois, where it's
There it
been in the
is.
so it's been in the Chicagoland area for its whole existence. We are moving now to the Baird Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So it's about 90 minutes farther north.
Ugh.
And there are lots of reasons behind that, but one of the major advantages of it is that like we have so much more room to expand. So our events, especially 40K, like most of the 40K events were selling out like
Limited by
instantly.
space.
Yeah, we couldn't make them bigger. The Baird Center, we have, I mean, not infinite, right? But for all practical purposes, we have infinite growth potential. So the championships are sort of like most familiar GT type experience is going to expand this year. So normally it was 256 players. That worked out really perfectly because on Thursday you play 4 rounds and then you'd have 16, at most 16 undefeated people who would progress on to the finals bracket, which is 4 more rounds on Friday. So when you want to expand the tournament, if you still want a single undefeated player at the end, that means we're going to have to add another round. So the way we're going to accommodate that this year, I think, is actually kind of neat. So first day will be Thursday. Everybody will play 4 games on Thursday. On Friday, we're going to cut to the top 32 players, right? So, and then Friday, because you can, like, I don't know about you, but I cannot imagine playing more than 4 competitive games of 40K in a day. There will still be 4 rounds on Friday, and so we would get to the end of Friday night, and we would potentially have 2 undefeated players that would need one more game in order to get to a single undefeated. So where we're going to sneak that game in across the weekend is after basically everything kind of wraps up on Saturday. So Saturday we have our own slate of events, which is the 40K 4-man team tournament, which we talk about here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
That will wrap around like 7 o'clock, and then roughly 8 o'clock will start the final championship game. And doing this, I think, has a couple of advantages. So one, we can expand the champs. We could in theory expand now the champs to 512 people, right? I think this year Matt Weeks, who's in charge of the web cart, if any of you have ever seen him or met him, he's getting me final numbers on how many tickets for the champs we're going to sell. I think it's going to be around mid 300s. So, but right, with that one additional round, we could go up to over 500.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's nice is we've got kind of like all of Saturday to build hype and kind of pimp the finals game, which I think sort of fun, right? So we'll get to the end of the Friday, we'll know who the 2 finalists are, and rather than like going straight into the finals game, they're going to have all day to kind of strategize against each other. The internet's going to have all day to talk about it, and then that will be the only thing going on as far as 40K at that time on Saturday night. So that game will get, I think, a lot of attention and focus, which is good for the players, good for Adepticon, and kind of fun for all of the observers. So we're really excited about that change. And it allows us, we have years now of growing the champs with this format, all the way up to, hopefully over 500 players one day. So that's the first of our big changes for this year.
So I know one of the things in the past was a lot of like people were concerned about the terrain, and I saw some stuff on Instagram. I think it was Instagram, Facebook. Might have been from you. So what's going on with that? Looks like y'all are making some new terrain.
Yeah, so our terrain team has done a fantastic job. So for any of you who were at the event last year, we last year we made huge changes to the terrain. So we switched to the Leviathan terrain format last year, right? So the set kind of like mouse pads or templates on the table. Because our terrain collection is quite, I'll say, experienced. Some of the stuff on the terrain, some of the stuff on the templates wasn't quite as functional as maybe it would be. So there are sort of two things that are happening this year. So we've gone through our existing terrain collection again. I actually just was doing this over the weekend. We went through the collection again and sort of curated and moved stuff around to make sure that on the tables the stuff that goes on top is very functional, and if it's not functional, it's explained in the player packet exactly how it's supposed to function. So that'll be very good. So the tables you played on last year, some of them will still be around, but we've sort of iterated on them to make them even better. The second thing that's been done is our terrain team has fabricated 50 brand new tables designed specifically for the Pariah Nexus layouts. So
I think that's what I saw.
yeah. So if you're in the top 100 players of the champs, top 100 of the team tournament, a good chunk of those tables will be used for long war doubles, right? Like you'll be playing on stuff that was designed explicitly for modern 40K. And so, I think that for many years, the criticism of Adepticon was terrain, and we've taken it to heart. And myself and the team that makes the terrain for 40K have worked very, very hard. And in 2 years, the turnaround, I think, is rather incredible. And so
So you have 100 tables like this.
So we have 110 tables that are either explicitly designed for Pariah or very, very functional. And the remaining tables that we would need, so probably like, I don't know, 60 to 70, Games Workshop has committed to loaning us their terrain, right? So you're going to be playing on our stuff, which is designed for Pariah Nexus, or US Open stuff, which is
I see. Okay.
designed for Pariah Nexus. Is so
that's
like
kind of it. That's kind of interesting because I actually miss the old days where terrain wasn't always identical.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
so I like that you have. So you have like essentially you're trying to make all the tables function the same way, but you have 3 essentially different categories of terrain. You have like the GW category, this old terrain we're making functional category, and brand new terrain. So like,
yeah, you could think about it that way. Yeah,
it's all trying to do the same thing, but I like that. Like, it does get a little old when I play 6 games of 40K on the exact same 6 graphically identical tables.
That's that's a fair point, Kenny. So if you were to look at the room, so if the champs is 350 people, if you were to look at the room, about 100 of them will be playing on completely brand new stuff that's not only the peak of function, but I've seen it in person. It's also just super pretty. So it's the best combination of form and function that I think is on the tournament scene, in my opinion. So that'll be about a third of the room. Third of the room will be AdeptiCon terrain that you know and love, but we've gone through and made sure that it fits the template, the Pariah Nexus format, and is functional and works for the game. And then about a third of the room will be US Open stuff, which yeah. So you won't. How do I want to say this? The be very slight variations, but our intent here is that every table plays like a Pariah Nexus table is supposed to play.
Which is good. We're all practicing that right now. So
yeah, yeah,
that's good.
So a ton of work on that end. I'm really proud of what our team has done, and you know, hopefully, we had a reputation for many years of having non-functional but beautiful terrain. You know, we're hopefully in a couple more years we'll have the reputation of
no, I think it
very
was like one
functional.
year. It was like you guys had just redone all your terrain for the new edition,
and then a new
and then a new
And then it
edition came out.
changed.
Yeah.
And then it was where we went, where it was a major concern because we went from a more abstract terrain set to a very not abstract terrain set, and so then you were left holding the bag on a bunch of pretty terrain that didn't do anything.
Yeah, and we still have tubs and tubs and tubs of, like, we still own all of that stuff. Maybe one day it'll come back around and be usable. I think what a lot of people don't realize, though, is that you know, AdeptiCon is all volunteers. None of us are really doing this, are like getting much out of this, and our terrain team supports, you know, essentially every game system at Adepticon. So the same people that are like doing 40K terrain are doing a chunk of the Sigmar terrain, are doing a chunk of the MCP Shatterpoint, a lot of NCP and Shatterpoint. And so you know, those guys are spread thin and they work really, really hard. And so we've it's taken us some time, but I feel like we've caught up to what people expect for terrain and for modern 40K. And as far as aesthetics, I think they blow it out of the water every time.
So we got 40K champs. We got Long War doubles. We got the friendly both on Friday, and then also on Friday a new flex event.
Yeah. So the flex event is actually technically every day over the convention. So this is another big change that we're making.
Runs all week.
So yeah. So if you
5 days.
One of the really great advantages of the Baird Center is you can leave, right? Like very easily. So the Schaumburg Renaissance was a great spot for us for many years, but it's kind of isolated. If you'd never been there, it's sort of surrounded by interstate, and you definitely can't like walk to restaurants or anything, right? Baird's not like that. Baird has breweries, which I like. I'm a beer and like cheese curd guy, so I'm planning on gaining a lot of weight in 5 days. So like but you can, there's a lot of seeing and stuff to do at the Baird Center. And so we wanted a event for people who were interested in having like some semi-structured games, but also, you know, might just want to go, you know, they don't feel like playing and they just kind of want to go get a beer and eat and not take things too seriously. So the way this flex event works is your ticket, it's kind of a halfway between open gaming and a tournament. So your ticket will buy you access to the flex event for every day of the weekend. And every day we're going to have 2 scheduled rounds. You show up, we'll pair you, we'll give you a mission, and you can have like a game, like a structured 40K game. And then if you and your buddies want to play the second round, play. If you don't want to play, leave. Go find a brewery, try out some new beer, and come back whenever you feel like it. So that's designed for, again, somebody who's kind of wants like a real game of 40K, and wants to have like a little bit of structure to it,
Bro, I'm
but there's
100% playing this
freedom.
format. This is
Yeah,
this is
that
made
sounds
for
very
me
cool.
at Adepticon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So sign up. We can accommodate a ton of people, and yeah, there's just no pressure. Show up at the round if
Yeah,
you
I
want to play
love
that
this
round.
because like when I'm at Adepticon, there's so much action that I like. I don't like getting too committed to things.
Yeah, it feels a
This
little
is
too structured
this
sometimes,
this
right?
is like the perfect
Mhm.
amount of commitment for me.
Yeah, and we've partnered, or we've created this event. This is sort of the brainchild of Hank Edley, one of the owners of Adepticon, and Carl Tuttle. They
Mm.
both are long time 40K guys, but if you know either of them,
I do.
they're not they don't want to grind out 4 GT games in a day
No, that's hard.
anymore.
That's
Like,
hard.
No, not anymore.
You
No.
and you guys always keep it different with that, like
Yeah.
harkening to the old Iron Man days of the event.
Oh, gosh,
Which
I
I
did-
mean, that
11
I
games.
mean that's what they were known for, man. Remember that? Like
Yeah.
that was so like not every event's the same. We don't want them all to be the same, and I like that there's a holdover to the old Iron Man days, which is if you want to play in the singles, you got to play 4 games.
yeah,
You gotta be
yeah.
that, and and so I don't want to play 4 games, so I don't. But now you have the flex event. I want you to play that.
Yep. And like, even if your intent is to play both games all 4 days of the convention, Friday night you have too much to drink and you want to skip Saturday morning and then play Saturday evening, you can do that. And I think that's the more valuable one, because like if you start the champs and you play rounds 1, 2, 3, and then you want to drop, like we can't make you play games.
No, you lose more. You have more to lose,
Right.
right? Like, and so
Right.
it becomes a progressive, like, like sunk cost fallacy almost, like inversion of that. Like, so it's I'm not a young man anymore, so standing there and playing 4 games is kind of hard on my obesity, and so
Yeah.
now I want it, but I do want to play, and I like open gaming, but it's not structured enough.
Yeah.
Open
Yeah.
game is just not structured enough. So
I agree. You gotta find people. You don't know when people are gonna show up. You gotta like go over to a stranger and be like, "Do you want to play?" Like, it works for some people, but for like my personality type, it doesn't.
I want
So,
just a little structure. I like that. No, that's a
Yeah.
really cool new thing. I'll be signing up for that personally. I like that.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So we're excited. We think it's gonna be popular, and yeah, hopefully people enjoy it.
And of course we have the 4-man team with the crowning jewel of the event.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. So what is different? We didn't talk about the 4-man team yet. What's different about that? There's got to be something, right?
Sure. Yeah. So in context again of kind of the whole event. So Thursday is the first day of the champs. Friday we'll cut to top 32 for the champs, and then if you don't make top 32, long war doubles friendly. Saturday and Sunday are the 40K 4-man team tournament, which is the convention's largest event, the convention's oldest event, the one that it kind of built its name
brand on.
and
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. So for those of you who are not familiar with how this works, just the super quick rundown. You have teams of 4. Your team of 4 splits up across 2 tables, and you everybody brings 1,000 points. So you'll split into 2,000 point games, and
You
play
essentially
another
split into
team
a
of 4.
doubles format. Like
Yep.
you
Exactly.
split into a doubles format, but it's kind of like a round robin of which 1,000 points have to pair off with each other 1,000 points. Then with eventually a dealer's choice at the end. But because of this, it creates special rules issues that you guys accommodate for in a very specialized army construction packet.
Yeah. So it is our most bespoke format, just because of what it is. We have to have.
Yeah, there has to be an exceptions like list essentially, because it's and a additions list, because wild shit can happen in that format, and you encourage wild shit, with some balance and stuff, like.
Yeah.
Like, so you can use, you'll see there's a combo. You're like, yo, you normally can't do this. This is crazy. But like but you don't get to do it every time because me and White only pair off in in game 2 and then at the end. So like our crazy combo, we know works in game 2 and game 4. What about the rest of the fucking games? Like,
Yeah.
so you got to come with some wild shit.
Yeah. The most important sort of army rules or restrictions revolve around the rule of 3. So like your 4-man team can break the rule of 3, but when you pair up, none of your pairs together can break the rule of 3. So like I don't know if there's some unit like a Telemon Dreadnought or something like that, right? So all of you could take 1, and then one of you could take 2. So across your
you have
guys,
it used
5.
to be a floating force org slot.
Yeah,
but now we don't have
Yeah.
that anymore really. But it's kind of like functions the same thing. Like,
Yep. So a lot of the bespoke rules just have to do with the rule of 3 and constructing your army, and then unfortunately we have to make a lot of clarifications about how armies of different but like semi-related factions would work with each other. So like you could put Imperial Fist Marines with like an Imperial Fist character. 1,000 points could be that. Another 1,000 points could be Ultramarines. And inevitably, some abilities and keywords are going to interact in weird ways. So a lot of the packet is just explaining how that stuff works. So,
but you can also go full hybrid. You can go full Xenos. You can go, so it has a hobby score. Yeah, it's known for its painting displays, like crowning jewel, like over the top shit.
Yep, 100%. So there are other team tournaments that do similar things. So like the Long War Doubles actually does a similar thing.
We're just you, but half of that. Like that's
yeah,
basically.
The advantage of having 4 guys on a team and 4,000 points worth of models is that it really opens up the opportunity for people to stretch their hobby creativity and make some really amazing like jaw-dropping
I can't wait to see Wyatt and some of his guys tackle that. Wyatt recently just became the people's champ. They were doing the 8-man teams. Was that Champs Cup?
Yeah.
And so he did
now called Challengers
Cup. Now Challengers Cup. So to our knowledge, Wyatt created the only 8-man team display in the world.
Oh wow. Oh, that's neat.
Right?
I didn't see that. Wyatt. I'd like to see pictures.
So it's an interlocking 8-man display board. Right? So that's pretty wild, right? So like I'm excited because like I don't think Wyatt, you've never actually gotten to play in a 4-man team, right? At Adepticon?
No.
So like one day we're gonna have to come back as a podcast and blow the scene up with a new wild ass display. But like that, I have like fantasy, like waking dreams about like the fun days of playing in the 4-man teams and like the wildness of it.
So yeah, I have like such happy nostalgic memories of competing in it, and that's like 90% of the reason that I still volunteer for 40K is just because I want other people to have and develop those memories too, because it's I don't know, it's the best in my opinion.
It is.
I love
it is.
I love 40K in general. Like I'm not knocking other stuff and other formats, but this is my favorite. So as far as sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's definitely the one that I always recommend people try to get to at least once. In the out of the, I guess probably the big 2, or you could say big 3 maybe. So what? Now we talked about it a little earlier, but when do tickets go on sale? What do people need to know? Is the cart gonna hold out?
Yeah, so I don't know. The episode's live right now, right? So if you're listening to it live, the web cart registration is happening Sunday. That would be January 12th at 12 Central. The web cart goes live. So you can go now and see a preview of the web cart, so a preview of all the events. And there's actually on the AdeptiCon website, to what Rob was alluding to, there's actually a tutorial video on how to use the web cart like software. So we've had two issues in the past, and they're related, and they're both good, I guess. So our events on the 40K side, most of them sell out the first day. Not all, but most, and within a week, basically, they're all sold out. I'm not sure if that's gonna, like, I can't make predictions this year because almost all of the events are expanding because we have so much more room at the Baird Center, right? So, I don't know what that'll end up being like if you could register for things a week late. My thought would be probably still want to register as soon as possible. Related to that, there's for years been just a flurry of people bombarding the Adepticon servers right when the web cart goes live, and sometimes our web cart provider hasn't taken us seriously when we warn them about the traffic, and servers in the past have stalled or been slow or so on. So I think last year they invested in more like server capacity, and that went pretty smoothly. And then this year, between additional server capacity, between like the registration video, which is actually pretty helpful and sweet, and made in like just more capacity in the events in general. Hopefully the registration process is better, less heart attack inducing for people trying to get into the events. So
that's good news.
It's definitely good news. It's always been something to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it makes for less internet drama for podcasts. So that's what we're trying to do.
Can you believe these fucks at Adepticon?
All the content for the content creators.
Seriously. I'm never going back to that event again.
Terrain's actually good now. The web card actually works now. You can get into events and hotels even if you don't sign up within like 5 minutes. What is there to complain about anymore?
We have to sit on that card at like midnight.
You go to the Harley Davidson Museum or Noble Knight Games. There's all sorts of stuff to do out there.
Yeah.
All right.
If you're into things.
Well, why don't we hit a commercial break, then come back and start looking at some of the other topics while we have Matt here.
Can I do one thing before we close this up, because I actually have a hard out here in a few minutes.
Okay, do it.
So I just wanted to make sure. So while we're on the, we were just recently talking about the team tournament, and we're making a couple of revisions to the team tournament, mostly around the soft scores. So the actual army construction and gameplay format is going to be more or less the same as last year. We have to make some tweaks because last year was Leviathan. This year's Pariah. We'll adjust accordingly, but more or less the feedback from the gameplay was very good last year, and so it'll be the same. What we're going to adjust here is how we handle soft scoring. Every like as you said, people spend an incredible amount of time and money making the displays and competing for the soft score awards. So best appearance, best display, best theme and presentation, best, we have a lot of soft score awards to give out. So we're going to do 2 revisions this year that hopefully make that scoring process better and alleviate some of the problems we've had in the past. So revision number 1 is that at the end of day 1, we're going to post QR codes where people can see what their soft scores are for the day. So there's always issues that people don't get what they think they're going to get, and sometimes they're right, and fixing all of that stuff after the tournament when awards have already been handed out. It just can't be done at that point, right? And again, this is something I take really seriously, and I know people work really hard,
Thank
and
you.
we want to get it right. So we did this for the champs. This last year, we had posted on TVs QR codes where you could look up your paint scores in real time, and it went over really well. So we're going to take that. We're going to take that to the team tournament. So by the end of day one, you'll be able to see.
You'll essentially have a window to refute the score.
Yes, and I don't want to have to talk to every single team about their soft score, right? So I'm a little nervous about that, but at the same time, it has been an issue year after year where teams in contention for winning, teams who spend a lot of time and money and effort, have legitimate gripes about their soft scores. And they don't find out about even what their score was until after the tournament, and we can't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to fix it, and so we'll get scores up and available to people end of Saturday. The second thing that we're going to institute is that if you are in contention for any of the awards, so top three, so top three for each award, I personally am going to come around on Sunday and walk through the rubric with you again. So there are too many teams for me to look at every single one on Saturday, right? But what is possible is for each of the awards on Sunday, the very, very best will get a second round of review. And
this is after they had their refute window.
Yeah. So
okay.
So how it's traditionally worked is Saturday everybody gets judged for the various soft score rubrics. It's too much work for any one guy, so we have teams, right? And there's inevitably some subjectivity and variance in the scores.
Absolutely.
Right. And then on Sunday, what I'm describing, this second review, informally, the head TO, myself, Jason before me, Jason Lippert, Chris Meerstedt before him, we would do this anyway, right? We would go through and review the top N number of teams for the awards, no matter what. So all we're doing with that is formalizing that and making it transparent and visible. And the posting of scores with the QR code by the end of Saturday should also make things more transparent and visible.
Yeah.
And so, by the end of Sunday, right, the goal is everybody knows what their soft scores were. Everybody knows, why they got them. And there's no big surprises and no hurt feelings on that front, because we want the hobby stuff to just get bigger and better and people to love it more and more. And if people feel cheated, misjudged, or they don't understand why they got a particular score, that becomes an impediment to growing the love of the format. So those are our two big revisions to the team tournament this year.
I like it.
So hopefully that all goes really smooth, and people bring amazing, beautiful works of art and have a great weekend playing 40K with their three best buddies.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The best part of it.
Yep. Matt, thanks for kicking it with us. I know you got to get out of here. Appreciate your time and energy and volunteer work over the last multiple years. AdeptiCon's my favorite event. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you at the big show. I am out.
See you, bro.
All right, let's take this opportunity, guys, to hit a commercial break, and then we'll be right back. And we're back. Let's let's get back. I mean, dude, I'm excited
Yeah.
for AdeptiCon. I'm excited for that Flex event.
Yeah,
AdeptiCon's
that sounds cool because like sometimes you just don't want to play 3 games in a row, right?
I don't. I hardly can motivate myself in the modern era. I just, but especially the AdeptiCon. Like that's not true. If I go to LVO, it's not a problem. But AdeptiCon is like
It's more of a chill thing. I
so
guess.
so much stuff, so many friends, so
Yeah.
many things to do, man. Like, remember that one year, Wyatt, we got really into that wrestling game?
Oh yeah, Rumble Slam.
I mean, that's like all we cared about for like 19 hours. So like, yeah. So I mean, that's the kind of shit that happens. But okay, let's see if we can play with the new format now that we've talked to our guests. Let's kick it back
Yes.
over to our topic guide. The subject of Battlefield Ready Guide to Tournament Preparation. We have our resident expert here. We have our resource material expert, Wyatt Turk. Category 1, tournament specific preparations. Wyatt,
Well, I think not to cut you off, bro, but I think we should let Wyatt talk about long war doubles. Like since we just did all AdeptiCon, we didn't really touch on long war doubles. So
you are a goddamn professional. Wyatt,
Yeah,
what's new with the long war doubles?
We get a couple of new things. So the format is going to be the same. One guy brings 1,000 points. Your buddy brings 1,000 points. For the most part, it uses incursion level list building rules.
That's 1,000 points, right?
Yes, with our one caveat to that being a rule of 2 for non-battle line, dedicated transport data sheets. So for example, like Space Marine Vindicator. Normally in all versions of 40K, as far as Leviathan goes, there is no like limiting of data sheets other than 3. In our event, it's limited to 2.
for the exact same reasons that the 4-man team limits it.
Yes. In a similar way, we have stipulations where you and your partner do not share rules unless all relevant keywords match between your armies. And that's to keep some of the like crazy rules combos of modern 40K, just stops those from, being feels bad.
From applying to things they were never intended to apply to.
Exactly. As part of our like kind of living document FAQ errata for our event that has been added to over the past few months. One thing I am allowing people to do this year is the new detachments. So one of the things we talked about was how do those detachments cross over if you share all relevant keywords? And I was like, you know what? For this, we're going to see how it goes. I'm going to allow some of those rules to cross over. For example, Kenny and I are playing in the Long War doubles, and we're both playing Space Marines, and we're both playing Ultramarines, right? Because even if we're both playing Space Marines, all keywords must match. He can't be Dark Angels, and I can't be Ultramarines. Our rules would cease to cross over at that point.
Which doesn't mean we can't do Dark Angels and Ultramarines. It just means that if he wants to play a stratagem that says Ultramarine, it doesn't work on me.
Exactly.
Well, that makes sense.
So for this year, with the new Grotmus attachments, if we are both playing the same chapter of Space Marines, and he wants to do Librarius Conclave, and I want to do Ironstorm, the detachment rule would apply only to my units, and same for his. However, we are allowing relevant keyworded stratagems to cross over. So a stratagem from Librarius Conclave could be played on a unit from Ironstorm, but again, all relevant keywords have to match.
Which has always been the spirit of your rule that you have.
Yes. And we are limiting that in leader characters cannot join a unit from a different detachment. That's like one of the ways that we're limiting.
You get to
so we're
Battle Brothers
combos,
nonsense with that.
Right. So we're allowing some combos, but not others. And if it's a like an enhancement that gives out like a point and click, like a select a unit type enhancement or an aura type enhancement, those will not cross over between detachments. So we are allowing ways for you and your buddy to like do some cool scheming, do some cool combos,
just some rule breaks.
Yeah, we are limiting that. All the FAQs and everything are in our format document, as well as like our painting format and how all that stuff works. And it is being added to all the time. So if you have specific questions about the Long War doubles, go to the Long War Discord. There is 2 specific channels for the Long War doubles where you can ask questions. Say you don't have a friend that can make it to AdeptiCon, but you still want to play. So you want to show up as a mercenary, get in the Discord, make that known to us. We're going to put you on a list. Like, you'll be able to find other people that might be looking for a partner as well. So that way you don't have to get randomly paired. You can just make a new friend and scheme with them.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
Yeah, because a lot of times people just show up and we just kind of like, hey, you here? Hey, you here? And then boom. But if we could coordinate it a little sooner, for some of the Lucy's, so to speak, I think that'd be good.
Yeah, that's a good term. The Lucy's.
The
Yo,
Lucy's.
yeah, well done, Wyatt.
Yeah,
Well done.
that man, I'm sold on it.
Yeah.
I need to add the Discord to the Long War Doubles page, so we'll get that.
Yeah. Get in the
job.
Discord and get in there.
Good job. Yeah, no, and
Good-
so the
good
living
way to
document,
connect.
there's a link tree that's been floating around. The link is actually on the LVO page right now. So if you scroll to the
Yep.
bottom of the event, you get the living documents there. It'll be the same for the web cart. Make sure that that link tree is on the Adepticon web cart, Rob.
It is. It already is.
So that's where it all is. So like it's always that doc is the sacred document that Wyatt
Right.
manipulates.
And all that being said, is we are like beta testing this at at LVO.
I'm gonna ask you
yeah,
another
so it might
question,
change.
Wyatt. I'm gonna ask you a question. So we still have in there tournament terrain guidelines for player place. Are we still doing player place? Or are we moving on to layout?
So we might have to revise that for Adepticon because Adepticon is going to be way more
Accommodating.
structured
Yeah,
and
structured.
accommodating. So right now, if you're planning on attending LVO, that stipulation is still there because Frontline Gaming has this sort of like kludge of terrain collections where some tables are going to be actually GW format, some are going to be WTC, and then some are just going to be like the shit we had left over in the trailer that we're going to kind of make work. So that's one of those things we have to wait till the day of.
And
We
it's
have to- we
and
don't
it's
know.
reality because they're gonna have like 1,000 tables.
Yeah.
So like we can't guarantee we get a cut of the good shit.
Oh yeah, because we don't even know where they're gonna pair us.
Yeah,
Right.
and just like philosophy wise, like the Long War Doubles, it is a tournament. There are prizes, but it's not the vibe that we have there is not the same type as like a GT or a major or something. It's not that competitive. We strongly encourage people to have like wacky themes and like fun sportsmanship ideas and sort of
And
stuff like that.
bribes and
And so
prizes for
in-
your
yeah.
opponents.
And so in that vein, the terrain is more of a vehicle to accommodate playing 40K,
well said.
not creating the like penultimate all variables considered competitive environment. Like that's not what we're going for. So in the pack, it says like, hey, take like 2 minutes, make a fair table. Like pretty much everybody who's plays 40K from if you've only been playing for 6 months or you've been playing for 20 years,
Understands
you
what that
know
means.
how
Yeah.
to roll up to a table and be like, hey, let's make a fair table and just play the game, dude.
Yeah. Well said.
Mhm.
Well said. I like that. Hell yeah, Wyatt.
Yep.
That's exciting. Yeah. So we're gonna have Arthur at LVO as well. We're gonna
Yeah.
so like he's excited as fuck. So yeah, make sure you sign up for it. There's still tickets available for LVO, which is like next week, which we're all gonna be at. And of course, you heard about the web card for Adepticon. I'm excited for that. That one sells out.
Yep, on Sunday.
That sells
too.
out in like 35 seconds. So make sure you guys are waiting there to get your ticket for that.
What what was I gonna say? Shit. So we'll know more. We'll update people on if there's any changes from LVO. Are we going to be podcasting on Wednesday? I forget. Next Wednesday. Or are you guys traveling?
Yes.
Yeah, we travel on
Okay.
Thursday. We travel on
Okay,
Thursday.
right.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to our topic real quick. Rob, do we have any Q&As? Did anybody fill anything out?
Yeah, I think there was a couple here. The one we answered, Rottweiler.
I don't expect a lot in the
asked,
first night, but as a reminder, anyone listening, this is a new format, even though it sounds like the old format. Take a second to consider jumping into our Zoom webinar and using the Q&A function there so we can create articles about it. Rob, while you
it's really the resource page, but
right,
yes.
Rob. So you keep an eye on the Q&A while I talk to Wyatt. So Wyatt,
Well, I think a lot of these, like
are these not
topical
relevant
questions? Well, I mean, I think they're in here to talk about, but they don't all have to be talked about. Like it's just topics for us to cover, time permitting, etc.
Right. So let's do it.
Yeah.
So we're still figuring out we're still figuring it out. So I can't see the Q&A. Can I? Oh, can I? No, if I click
Yeah,
that button,
everybody-
it fucks everything up.
Oh, I see.
Rob, pretend you're the host. Do it right now.
Do what right now?
Read us some Q&A.
from the user submitted. Well, so usually we would want to do the user submitted stuff towards the end, cover the topics
Okay.
until like the last 2/3, for like 2/3 of the show. But
Okay, then we'll do it that way.
so yeah, okay, we can talk about some of the topics
back
here.
to my original point.
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt, being our most competitive player on this podcast, a prestigious player, what are some of the most critical steps to take in building a competitive army list for a tournament, in your opinion?
First and foremost, playing to the tournament format. And what I mean by that is the way that you win 40K is scoring points by setting on objectives and getting primary points and doing the things that your secondary cards tell you to do to get points. So you want to make sure that whenever you're building an army list, you can accomplish those two goals. You can skew one way or the other, right? For example, Ironstorm is real popular right now. That's skew list, lots of tanks, lots of vehicles. But you still need to engineer stuff in your list where it's like, well, what if I have to do sabotage? What if I have to do recover assets? What if I need to do containment or establish locus? Like you need to like know what secondaries are in the deck, know how they're accomplished, and have ways engineered into your army where like, okay, if I draw this, I can do it with these guys or whatever. They have that game plan. And then also we live in a time where basically every event is not only broadcast but also collated in online data, so you can see like this is what's doing well, this is what's doing poorly, like, oh, this guy won a GT with an army that I own, let's see what his list is, right? And
Well,
you can look
Wyatt,
at
how important is understanding the meta, and what's the best way to research it?
I mean, it's pretty important, depending on what your goal is. And what I mean by that is if your goal by attending a tournament is to try to win that tournament or as place as high as possible, you got to know what you're going into, right? You got to know what the meta is. It's pretty important. And even if you don't want to play the meta, knowing what the meta is allows you to play like counter meta, right? So it's like if the meta is very much about like vehicles in the shooting phase, maybe you can build an army that completely counters vehicles in the shooting phase, right? Like that's counter meta. So you definitely want to know what that is. There's a bunch of different publications. Like Rob covers the meta stuff from tournaments on Spiky Bits. Stat Check is a good one.
Stat Check's great, but they update every about Tuesday morning, I think. I think Tuesday morning they're live.
It's like a weekly cycle.
Yeah.
Having BCP, because like you got to have BCP, the app, Best Coast Pairings, to attend tournaments. You can search events and you can see like, oh, this event happened, the next state over. Let's see who got like top 5. Let's see what that's looking like, right?
That's good, man. So what role do practice games play in preparation, in your opinion? Like how important is that?
It's a big deal. Like you need practice, right? You need reps.
Yikes.
Before the event, preferably.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's like 2 or 3, just to like go through the order of operations on how your list functions. Always get a couple of practice games, and also tournaments put out their packets with the like, here's all the missions we're doing on day 1, here's all the missions we're doing on day 2, and so that also helps with list building.
Yeah, so that's how you prioritize your structured play tests is based on those publications. Yeah, that makes sense. You sound like an adult. I'm like, damn, I need to get in on that. But I mean, to your point on the meta though, like, I rely on like my friends to tell me what they're playing and how they're gonna beat my ass, and like how they're gonna raffle stomp and table me to get that's where I get my meta. I'm like, oh, that sucks. I didn't figure that out. You know what I'm saying?
I got to do something about that shit.
So this might be like a big brain one, but like, what are your tips on adapting your strategy to like an unknown opponent or unexpected list?
Well, so one thing that I say a lot is 40K at the end of the day, it's just decision making under pressure. Like who makes the best decisions, right? Especially in modern 40K, where some of the armies are kind of a solved problem where you're like, these are the types of lists you need to run, or it's just not going to be very good. but like any given day at a tournament, you have your army, you've got some practice in, you're playing in the tournament, and you're like, I don't know who this guy is, I don't know what this army does, right? Ask a lot of questions first and foremost. Um, if you don't know what something does, ask them, right? So that you know. And you also have the app now, the GW app.
Yep.
If
You
you
can look
don't
at all the
own
units.
the like the codex for all that relevant information, there's stuff online for free where you can go to a website and be like, I want to see the entire Necron codex, and all that information is there to you. Like, pull it up. You know, if you haven't played into Necrons at a tournament before and you're like, I have no idea what's happening, like,
Mhm.
pull that shit up and keep the relevant information up while you're playing the game. And then also, it's just decision making, right? Who's making the best choices, who's making the best decisions, and practice is all part of that. So like the more you practice, the better you become at that. And try to get a wide array of opponents for your practice. Whether that be like making sure that during your weekly Warhammer night with the guys, you're rotating people. You're not playing the same dude every single time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
a
you
vacuum.
exactly, and if you have a limited like friend pool community for your local Warhammer stuff, there is a Discord. I think it's run by Tactical Tortoise, right? Where it's like a
Yes.
TTS Discord. So you can go onto that Discord and you can get games with people all over the world, any day of the week, any hour of the day, and like get reps.
Yep. So now, assuming someone's listening to this and they're thinking about going to a big ass tournament, logistics and planning. How far in advance should you register and plan for a major tournament or convention?
I mean, when tickets go up for sale.
Generally.
Yeah. Like that's the only, so it's the only way to guarantee your ticket to an event is to buy tickets when they go on sale. And then like, if you have a job that requires taking PTO or vacation days or whatever it might be, like if you know that like AdeptiCon's a great example. If you know that AdeptiCon tickets go on sale January 12th at 12 Central, then like that's when you should plan to buy your tickets. And if you plan on attending, then you know that you can put in PTO or time off or plan for that in your schedule as soon as that event goes up.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. What essential items should you pack for an event? I.e., like dice, rule books, markers, etc. Like something that's not obvious.
Mm.
Not obvious.
Movement tray or army
Yeah,
movement
like an
tray.
There you
army
go.
tray. That I mean, that's like somewhat obvious. You don't want to be that guy that's like unpacking
Unpacking
your
this shit,
armor at every
repacking this
table.
shit.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Getting
So
like
much
an
stuff.
MDF collapsible display tray, movement tray is huge because you can travel with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes you.
Tokens.
Oh yeah.
Tokens is a big one.
Ooh, we should do
For basic stuff.
so.
Tokens for Battle Shock. Tokens for any relevant thing that your army does that would require a lasting effect. It's a good idea to have a token for. And for like very broad basic things that kind of all armies do, having extra tokens for those as well is a good idea because like not all of your opponents are going to have stuff for that. And even if both players are playing the game in good faith with good sportsman stuff, things get forgotten. Like people
Yep.
forget that their unit was battle shocked if they don't have a token for it, little things like that. And so if you're the guy who's like, well, I got plenty of battle shock tokens, just like put a battle shock token on their unit, right? If they don't have a
Mm-hmm.
token, so that way nobody forgets.
And it's so clutch too because when you're battle shocked, you cannot score. You cannot have stratagems played on you. Like it's
I
actually
can't tell
kind
you
of
how many
critical.
times I was like super hyped to make someone fail a battle shock test. I was like, yeah, that means I win primary. And then it comes back around and then I score them primary. And then like the next turn, I was like, God damn it. I forgot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, like that's kind of the main one that I take to every event is I have like 10, 12 battle shock tokens.
Smart.
So that if my opponent has a battle shock unit or something, I just like toss it on the table by their unit. I don't even ask them, just like, oh, there it is. And then if they have one, they can just hand it right back. But like most of the time, it's greatly appreciated that I have little things like that keeps both of us like on the same page and nothing gets forgotten.
What's the best way to transport your miniatures to an event safely?
I think the best cases on the market for most events is Table War, just in my opinion. There's other competitors for cheaper or whatever, but
And also, Rob has
most
an article on making a magnetic
I was just
Tupperware
grabbing,
box.
yeah.
Like he has,
Just
so like
grabbing
you
the
can go.
article over
It's the
here.
same principles. You can go as cheap as you want on it. Basically, you're saying like a magnetic display box, essentially.
yeah, so Table War is great. The one thing with that is if you have to fly to a tournament, not all Table War cases
Yeah,
can
that's not
fit
gonna
on a
work so
plane.
well.
I have a Table War case that I fly with a lot, but it kind of requires you to have a fairly elite low model count army.
Mm-hmm.
So for most of the time, if you're flying, I think a foam case
Yeah.
is the best way to do it.
And there's no shortage of foam manufacturers in the market.
There's quite a few. There's more and more every day.
Yeah.
We are spoiled for choices.
Yeah, you could just go on Amazon now and get them. I mean, I
Yeah.
use Battle Foam because I've been invested in it, and I like their like Kevlar like
Everything.
lined cases and shit.
Oh yeah.
But like, and you can get like 3D laser
And,
printed stuff. But
a little bit of a hobby hack. Yes, there are brands like Battle Foam and stuff like that, but like with any brand name thing,
there's
you're
a
paying
generic
more
version
for-
too.
Yeah, you're paying more for the brand than anything else. So I mean, like you can get a totally not a Pelican case, like a hard
Mhm.
Pelican case that will fit a Warhammer army with like pluck foam and stuff on Amazon for like literally $20.
Yeah. So I'm saying you can just go on Amazon now and you can find what you want.
Yeah.
But the reason I say Battle Foam is because that's the pinnacle. So go to Battle Foam and see what they have. Now you know what you need and do some Googling based on that information because they have everything right there on one webpage. Whereas when I've been on Amazon looking for cases, I'm getting thrown a lot of stuff I don't know. And if you don't know, you don't know. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah, Amazon's tough.
We're like,
Or just
where
stay
Battle Foam will
if
straight tell
want.
you this fits 20 Marines, this tray fits this. Like, so then you kind of know
Yeah.
dimensions equal what, and you can reverse engineer based on your budget. You can go all the way down to the David showed me over New Year's. I was over at David's crib.
Mhm.
Rob, my brother, pulled out his MCP collection to show my lady, and he had and he asked me actually a couple weeks ago, like how to transport them, and because he actually was disappointed with his Battle Foam case because he paid for the laser foam.
Uh-huh.
But his models are so delicate. He's like, the MCP models they get kind of scraped in that hard foam, like those.
Yeah, they got little.
Yeah.
Wyatt used a lot of them with his 40K stuff. The little effects, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the flares, And so
Yeah.
I was like, well, go Google Rob's nonsense article, and I came to his house, and he's got two Rob specials, dude.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, he pulled all his minis out of the two Rob specials, bro. So
yeah, I love those art bin cases. Those are high quality plastic, and you can keep all your cards and everything. They got little index card cases or postcard size cases. They're, dude. Whenever I roll up to play a game, it's like it's utter ridiculousness on organization.
So how do you? Why you play a lot more than I do? I mean, you play the Thursday night fights in one of the most competitive game regions of the United States. How do you organize your gaming and non-gaming schedule to avoid burnout?
Oof.
I mean, the simplest rule is like do as much as you can while you're still having fun. The instant that it's not fun,
Yeah.
take a break. Like, so for me, I'm retired, so my schedule is completely whatever I want it to be. For other people, you might have a day job, wife and kids, like all that kind of stuff. So just like make whatever time you can. And if you feel like it's too much, then just scale back.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment precisely. If you want to play the new season of Diablo 4, go fucking play that. But then if you start, you know what I mean? Like it's just go with your heart is the best answer there. Like don't force yourself to do something you don't fucking want to do because then you're gonna do it poorly. But I think this is a good one because you kind of touched on this earlier, but I think we can get more specific. Are there any specific tools or apps you recommend for staying organized during a tournament?
So tools, man, I'm gonna have to look it up. So friend of mine, team member, Anthony, he has a laser cut company called J15 Games.
Yeah, he's got dope stuff
on Etsy. And he has a product that is like a organizer's scorekeeper. I don't know the exact name of it.
Oh yeah, that scorekeeper.
Oh, it's literally just called scorekeeper. I'll get a link for this to Rob. but it's basically like a piece of MDF that's engraved with all the stuff you need to score a game of 40K. But the top surface of it is like whiteboard material. So you can just draw on it with an exact or a expo marker and then wipe it off. And too many times to count. Using the Tabletop Battles app, Goonhammer makes it, I think. I have a lot of problems with that app. I think it's kind of confusing, and if people don't exactly know how to work it, it can lead to games not being scored correctly and all sorts of other stuff, right? Where at the end of a game, because of that app, like everything is called into question, and nobody wants that, right?
Right.
And then also because it's an app, it's harder to pay attention to.
You need something in your hands. I agree with that. I rather score a game on a piece of notebook paper than use that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this is all a personal thing for me. Like, I don't like having my phone out 24/7 at the table. If I need to reference a rule or something, I'll pull it up. But otherwise, I kind of just don't want to be staring at my phone the whole time. So having this scorekeeper board, one, it lets me know exactly what the score is at any given time because you're keeping up with that yourself. You're writing it down. It helps, keep your brain actively involved, that sort of thing. And it's only $20. Highly recommend that. Apps, I mean, the GW app is available to everybody. It's great. Other apps, I don't know. Like
that's the app.
That's pretty much
that's
it.
The answer, man. Hobby and presentation. How important is painting and basing quality of your miniatures for tournaments?
I'd say pretty important up to making sure all your stuff is battle ready, right? That's like the partial cost of admission for playing in tournaments now is your army has to be battle ready. And quality is subjective, right? So I think the better way to look at it is effort. Like, how much effort did you put in? And that is way more readily apparent than quality, because quality is like really subjective. Like, Kenny might have the dopest models ever, but if I personally don't like the art style, then to me, it's not as high quality, right? It's subjective, but effort is really where you should be focused. And battle ready doesn't mean what it used to mean. So for a long time, battle ready was like, just put 3 colors on your model and it's like fine. Battle ready actually means you have to have a finished, completed model, which means by the definition of the people who create the format, which is Games Workshop, not everything has to be painted well or of high quality with air quotes, but you have to give the effort that your model is finished.
Yeah.
So like you need to have finished basing. You need to have a finished model. And if that's just like a base coat and on like all the different components and, a wash to make the details pop out and, texture like paste on the base, like that's a finished model by battle ready standards.
Yeah. Like if you spray paint a marine blue, and then you take brown paint and paint his ammo pouch. And then you take gold paint and paint his Aquila and his trim. And then you take silver paint and you paint his bolters and his weapon. Now you've achieved the result. Back in the old days, they would have sprayed the bitch blue. They would have painted like his shoulder and his chest and be like, I got 3 colors. And you would have disregarded all details. Like the man's holding a blue bolter. The man's holding a blue sword. The man's got blue ammo pouches, blue grenades, blue belt buckles, blue, you know what I mean? Like his blue eye lenses, blue respirator mask. Everything is blue. It's like, well, I got 3 colors. No, that's not what we're talking about. That's not the game. So it's as important as Wyatt says. That's how important it is. It's important to paint your model. Doesn't need to be high quality, but you needed to play.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that in the Leviathan, maybe not Leviathan, I think in the core rules PDF.
There's actually a picture.
There's a page of like, this is what battle ready is. And like, they have one that's like, this is what it looks like when we gave, the required amount of effort with traditional paints. And this is the required amount of effort with contrast.
Yeah, just like
this is what it should look like.
Yeah, blocked in with contrast. They show you exactly And
Like neither of those models look good.
nah.
Like don't get it twisted, but they are complete.
So to that point, as a crew, let's
Mhm.
list some of our time-saving tips for painting models to a tournament standard. Rob, what's your number one time-saving tip?
I think it depends on your setup,
Okay,
right?
let's establish a ground rule. We all assume that you own an airbrush. So the highest truth is buy an airbrush. Now that we've established that rule, in addition to
Not
that rule, Rob, what's your personal
s-
like speed hack that you like to use?
so I like to I like to do the value
You
highlighting
like to
now
do you
where
like the value sketch kind of slap chop technique.
yeah, and use speed paints on it from there because there's so many of them now. It's like with the first set, I was like, oh man, there just isn't enough to make all the colors, and I was like mixing them, and now there's like a color for everything, which is great. But you can just as well prime your stuff black. They got the big cans from Monument now. Spray it all black, and then just hit it with a zenithal of spray white primer if you want, and then use your speed paints too. You can do the same thing without using an airbrush. It won't look as good, but and there's steps in there for the slap chop you can skip too. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't go back and I hit the dry brush.
Yeah,
I don't.
What Rob is saying is like, so a value sketch to anyone listening who's like, wait, what is that? It's literally when you just establish the grayscale. Like it's black, it's gray, it's white, right? And maybe you do something else. Maybe you dry brush the edges white. Maybe you throw a black wash in there. Whatever it is, it's a black and white model that has bright edges and dark recesses. Then Rob applies his favorite brand of speed paint, which is Army Painter in this circumstance, over the sections in a paint by numbers controlled method, so that they will filter over these valued sections, and he will get a nice gradiated surface. And he does that for like a lot of degrees of success, especially in your MCP lineup.
Yeah, it's very good if you can break it up into manageable chunks. I feel like you do one part one day, let it dry, seal it, much like Kenny teaches in his curriculums. But um,
It's one of the
it,
most known and researchable painting techniques on the internet right now. So
yeah,
anyone listening to this, that's a good tip. If that's where you're at in your game, just literally Google slap chop. You'll find no shortage of video tutorials on the subject.
there's quite a few out there for sure.
Yep. And Wyatt is in the process of painting a beautiful Ultramarine army on
Hmm.
Twitch. I've been watching along with that, and he has his own version of tips and tricks, and he's like known for his weathering techniques in his more scale friendly uh, painting style. So, like, what's your number one shit? Like, what's your technique?
Oh, I always love this question because it's not what you think. So, best time saver, most efficient tool, spreadsheets.
Good
I
answer.
Yeah.
think and so like Kenny, you teach people to paint. I also teach people to paint. Our curriculum is very similar. One of the biggest things, I even have a YouTube video on this, um, because people have different schedules, like kind of talked about earlier, and it's always hard, especially if you're like, okay, so I got the wife, I got the kids, I got the day job, like all that kind of stuff, right? You're like, when do I get time for me? Well, almost everybody, unless you have like a newborn baby or whatever extenuating circumstances, can find at least 20 to 30 minutes every single day of the week where you can be like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to knock some stuff out. And if you use a spreadsheet to create a schedule of like, this is what I need to get done, and then you parcel out every single step on every single unit of like, I need to do this, then this, then this, then this, and you put that in your spreadsheet. So you're like, okay, I know that it's Thursday, and I have a half hour where I can paint some stuff. This is what I need to get done. And you can sit down and you're like, I'm going to spend that 30 minutes. I'm going to bang this thing out. You accomplished a goal. You get that dopamine release in your brain for accomplishing something you set out to do. And you end up painting an army really fast, because most of the time what happens is people are like, I only have so much time every once in a blue moon, and I just manically fill up that one day of painting time trying to do as much as possible, and it's like rushed and sloppy and people don't care. Whereas if you know that like over this period of 2 months, I have 30 minutes a day to do all of this stuff, then you end up painting an army way faster than you might think, because you don't actually have any period of like 2 weeks where you're not painting at all. Like you're painting every single day. You're accomplishing a little goal every single day.
I love that answer. And I too have an answer that's not what people would expect. My number one strategy for moving quick through a project is first pick my army list, and I make sure to deliberately design an army list that is as preposterously low a model count as possible. That's how I start my 2,000 point journey. So I will deliberately skew into a list that lets me do less models, larger and fancier with my airbrush. Then I can get my first 2,000 on the table, have success with it, and then kind of adopting a Wyatt strategy over the course of maybe 2 months, finding more specific like moments, start adding way more versatility to the list, and one unit at a time. So like that way I never have to like feel like I'm in a rush. I can always just sit down. I'm like, I'm just doing 5 possess right now. That's it. So like vast 3 different perspectives on getting your 2,000 point army on the table. Yes. Hopefully that's a good one, guys.
For sure.
Now here's another good one. Speaking of good ones, how do you ensure that your army display board makes an impact in a convention setting, Wyatt?
As much as I hate to say it, gimmicks. And at like a good event with solid paint judging, like Champs Cup or the Long War Doubles, we have people that can be like, all right, that board's cool, but we're worried about what your army looks like. That's what we care about. That's like the award.
So first and foremost, make sure that you're not like overcompensating.
Yeah, I'm just like I'm making a point. Because at a quality event, the award goes to who has the tightest army in the room.
I see what you're saying.
At a normal event, you have a bunch of jabronis off the street who like shiny things like magpies. So if you want your board to like have that factor of like making people stop and actually look and be like, wow, that's really cool, have dumb gimmicks like LEDs or like a fucking, MIDI board that can put
a
out
water
like
feature, smoke,
a rock song,
I
like
think
dumb shit like that.
Yeah, I would even argue have some verticality to it, like being
height
having
matters.
some sort of height to grab people's eyes here and bring them down into the action.
Tall and gimmicks is definitely the best approach, because even at a high quality event, the tall gimmicky display board, I do end up walking over and looking, right?
Yep.
And sometimes they do have baller ass models on the board, but sometimes they don't.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think those are 2 surefire. Nobody respects the water features though as much as they should, but the smoke and LEDs, money.
Love them. Rules and knowledge category. We'll do this this last segment and then maybe hit Q&A before we get out of here as we experiment with our new format. What's the best?
I think we answered the Q&A unless people put more in.
Oh yeah, so we have no Q&A. So next week we're gonna have to send out some emails.
Yeah, I got some ideas.
But either way, I love this. I love our show notes right now. What's the best way to memorize rules for an army in a tournament format? Is it just reps?
Reps, and for me, might work for you. I write shit down. Like, oh man, this new model called Rabute Gilliman just came out.
Oh shit.
how do I memorize his stats? I just get a notebook and I'm like, I write his fucking stat card.
Yep.
And I'm just like strength, toughness, number of wounds, movement value. And like I just write it down. Right. And then like I'll get some reps. And then I specifically do this with a new army is like I take that piece of paper that has the things that I need to know about my army. I go to Thursday night fights. I go to Warhammer night, whatever they call it, where you live. And I play and I get my reps and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm getting it. And then I specifically throw that piece of paper away so that the next week when I'm like prepping to get all my stuff together to go down,
you have to write it again.
I have to write it again. Yes.
Genius. What should you do? This is a good one. What should you do to prepare for rules questions or disputes during a tournament?
So questions and disputes. One, the best way to do this is know your shit, right? Actually know the rules. Because most disputes happen because one person or both people don't actually know what the rule is. They're just kind of like, oh, this doesn't come up much. I don't actually know how this works. Or one person thinks they know what it is and the other person doesn't know. So you take their word for it. And then after you find out like, oh, that dude was hella wrong and now our game is in question. Very rarely in 40K is there actually a reason to be like, huh, this is a really weird niche interaction that hasn't really been talked about much. We should ask a judge. Most of the time it's because people don't know what they're talking about. So first and foremost, just know the rules. And then secondly, always be in a good mood, always be like amicable, even if your opponent is being like a douchebag. Usually my line is like, hey man, we both want to win this game, understandable, but let's not have any, bad blood over it. Let's just get a judge. Let's just talk about it. Having that like almost always works. It always works. Unless the person is just like the most supreme fucking asshole in the world, that always works. And if they are, and a judge comes over and sees that, that's going to get handled.
Yeah, well said. I would say probably you want to avoid prepping for rules disputes because you probably don't know the rules in that situation. So you want to prep by learning the rules to avoid disputes.
Another really handy thing that I started doing as soon as the GW app was a thing is there's a reference tab where you can look stuff up.
Yes.
And it's dog shit. We all know it. I've literally spoken to people in control over these things of like, hey, this like search function needs to get fixed. And they're like, we know, we're working on it. So like, great, awesome. However, knowing exactly where the rules are in the app to be able to produce them on command is really important. In that vein, you can favorite things in the reference for like modifiers is a big one because not everybody remembers how modifiers works. Not everybody remembers like, oh, my unit ignores modifiers. Like that like thing is you find that in the app and then you favorite it.
That actually feeds us into the next question.
Yeah.
What is a key rules interaction or FAQ that players often overlook? So what do you have in your favorites?
That's a good thing. Let me pull it up because there's a number of things. So in my favorites section, I have what you can actually command reroll because that has changed between not only editions but tournament formats. So like, oh, can I command reroll that? Like, I don't know. Let's find out. Command reroll. That's a big one. Grenade, because not like some armies use grenade a lot, some armies barely use it at all. Knowing exactly when, how, and if you can grenade is important. Consolidation moves.
I was gonna say consolidation for sure.
Ignoring modifiers. Priority of rules is a big one because sometimes that comes up where like if two things happen at the same time,
like whose happens first.
Yes, exactly. So that's a big one. That's all I have right now.
No, that's a very prepared answer. Honestly, that's as prepared of an answer as we can get. That's like that's from you playing games in the streets, dog.
I mean, like there was I won't name names, but there was a very big one at LVO last year where somebody was trying to figure out how modifiers work. And one player was like, this is how it works in the designer's commentary. They literally say how it works. And the player was like, no, it's not how it works. And because the person couldn't find it in the app in a timely manner, a judge had to get involved. And it's FLG and their judges are trying to keep it cool. And they made a real clown shoes ruling on it. And then the person was like, oh, I found it in the app. And the offending player was like, well, the judge said it's this way, so that's how I'm going to play it. So it's like, if you just know where to find stuff or you have it favorited in case it comes up, then like that just takes that entire interaction.
Yeah, entire interaction off the table. Precisely. How so staying updated on last minute rule changes and FAQs, how can we? Like typically For me, it's hearing from my friends, or a Spiky Bits article, or just going to the Warhammer community page.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like if you're not a fan of browsing websites and all that kind of stuff to find the
There's
information,
plenty of videos.
yeah, it's all there on Warcom. So I mean, like every 2 or 3 days, they'll be like, they publish anything new on Warcom, and I'll just look.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, so Warhammer community. If you're a new player, that's typically the website you need to be aware of. If you're not,
True.
what's the most common mistakes new players make in tournaments, and how can they avoid it?
Most common mistakes. I mean, not remembering stuff, playing stuff wrong, but that takes perhaps like know your rules. I'd say not understanding how the fight phase works, because the fight phase has changed a lot. But
I think I have an easier one that's not rules.
Yeah.
I think the most common mistake someone might make in this circumstance who's maybe new is maybe slightly intimidated, or maybe even, a little like out of their depth because they're in a big room full of people they've never met before coming out there trying to make things happen. I think self-advocation, a lack of self-advocation,
that's a big one.
Because a lot of the stuff Wyatt just talked about, like, how he mediates between a player who is having a disagreement with him by simply stating, I know we both want to win, and that's understandable. It's not like there be any bad blood between us. If you don't say that, things can spiral, right? Like you could, like imagine you didn't say that at all. You didn't say anything.
I'll distill it down to an even more succinct point: communication. Communication, like that's the biggest one. Always communicate. If you have a question, ask it. If you're thinking about something, talk about it. If you have a way that you would like to play 40K, discuss it with your opponent. If you don't know how the terrain works, ask before the game starts.
Yeah.
If you have to play on a clock, be like, do you understand how the clock rules work?
Don't be afraid of don't confuse cooperative competition with confrontation, right? Like that's how, because like so many stories I hear, the number one story I hear of people coming out there is like, oh man, this guy, I think he cheated me. And then I'm like, well, walk me through it. And I was like, what they walked me through, I was like, so you mean this guy played his rule wrong for 6 turns, he didn't say anything? And he's like, huh, I guess that is what I said. I was like, yeah, he didn't cheat you, dude. He just played his rule wrong for 6 turns. He didn't correct it.
You didn't tell him. Yeah.
Like, that's not the same thing. You like, that's a really big overreach and like accusation. Like, if somebody does the modifier wrong, you don't believe it's done that way, and you just let them beat you by doing the modifier wrong, and that could have been avoided by you saying modifiers aren't done that way. Here it is. That's not a confrontation. That is literally just cooperative play. We're cooperatively competing, and I'd say that's an important distinction. Communication.
Yeah.
Conflict avoidance is a skill you have to develop, but don't be afraid to say something, because it's not a confrontation. Dog, we're here to play, and we can't play without each other, meaning it is ultimately cooperative. So we have a whole other section that'll make it into the Q&A article based on mindset and sportsmanship that people can look forward to, that me or Wyatt will take a look at during the week. But I think I'm getting, I think I'm understanding this new format. I think I'm getting the hang of it. I hope that we can get some people involved in the webinar element of it, because I'd like to see some Q&A as well. But that felt really good to have those show notes, Rob. Thank you.
You got it, man.
That was awesome. Like, I heard some stuff. I mean, that was the most organized we ever were on this subject, and we've actually talked about this subject before. Like, I've heard the spreadsheet thing from Wyatt before, and I'm like, huh. But
spreadsheets.
But now it's cataloged and categorized in a show, right? Like, perfectly in a set of similar topic in subject matter. It's one of those best ones. But yeah, like, so I think we nailed it, guys, for the year opener. What about you?
We good?
Yeah.
Definitely going to be a little bit different. Well I like it.
All right. Well, Wyatt, why don't you take us out of here?
Rob?
So that's it for this one. Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. Don't forget to get your tickets for AdeptiCon on Sunday. If you're listening to this before Sunday the 12th, make sure to head on over to thelongwar.net for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.